Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Valagar Aloevain, back for some more Dungeons & Dragons Online. So we're back here in the Lord's March Palace for the third quest, which is bestowed by Varen Lisette. Again, if you haven't watched the previous videos, these individuals may not be standing exactly where I have them here. That all depends on whether or not you've done the first chain. If you haven't done the first chain, you'll see them sitting around the outside edge, and that's where they will be seated. For this quest here, it actually is the entrance there, so we're just going to be jumping straight into the quest. Now, the first part to this quest in particular is a little bit kind of sketchy. I find that a lot of people, this is where they tend to die if they're going to die in this quest. Reason being is it's actually a fairly decent fight right off the hop, so it does give you enough time to buff your character. So I highly recommend giving yourself every advantage that you can get.
A deep rumbling sound emanates from a nearby corner.
Then you're going to want to talk to Tullus here, and he will walk towards the cart. Now that cart, as soon as he approaches, and yourself as well, so he'll walk up. Obviously you can rush up ahead of him, but once you approach, it's going to break. Now it is going to give a knockdown effect. If you have a high enough dexterity, you can avoid the knockdown, but even if you can't, you get up before the fight starts there. And then you have waves and waves of enemies. And yeah, so your objective is to just fight them off. And like I said, there are several waves. So on Reaper difficulty, this is where it can get a little damaging, just due to the sheer number of enemies that spawn in. That does mean potentially a lot of Reapers can spawn in as well. Once you get towards the end of the waves, you're going to have a big guy spawning in. And he'll spawn right about where my turret is, which is why I keep placing it there. So here we've got our final wave, we got our named guy. And as you can see, with everybody there, they can do a lot of damage.
You've beaten back Roam's surprise attack.
Alright. So once you do defeat the initial, battle here, we'll be able to talk to Tullus,
In the huge crater,
which will open up a door here for us to click. Before we do that though, it does also spawn in a couple of shrines so that you can resurrect or rest if needed.
In the
Um,
huge crater,
don't worry
a
if
ladder
when you
and a
do head
tunnel
down
lead
here,
off into
you
the
can actually
darkness.
head back up,
It shouldn't
as
be
well
too
as obviously you
difficult to
can
climb down.
use Dimension Door, but all you gotta do is select the ladder to climb back up. At the bottom here, you also have a set of shrines, so it kind of gives you two right off the hop.
The construction of the tunnel shows it was
And
ugly,
this
but
section,
professionally
essentially you
built.
just want to run through.
It must have taken an army of mining engineers to dig this far under the city.
Now, as you get close to these diggers, they will become aggressive, or you can actually shoot them from range and get their attention one at a time. Just move at a pace that you feel most comfortable handling, as there's a lot of them down here and you don't want to get overwhelmed. Now, what a lot of people do is they actually just run past this first group right to Kaboom and just kind of do a big old fight. Now, I find it's really rough with the combat engineers, as I myself, I don't have evasion, so all that extra damage really adds up, as you can see. And, you know, though I do take half damage, it's something. Another thing is, as you fight Kaboom there, you'll notice he took about 2/3 of his hit points, and then he took off. Now, when he does start running, if you happen to have killed everybody already, you still don't want to follow him right away. Reason being is, as the DM had stated, he places exploding mines behind him. Now, you'll be able to see them. They're the little red mines there. Like Reaper. Now, you can have the Kobold set them off, which is honestly one of the easier ways to do it. Just basically get their aggro with some sort of a ranged. It'll drag them right past it, causing them to actually set off the mines. And that is definitely the safest option. You can also disable the mines as well if you have the trapping capability. Though this quest, it is not recommended to go for that trapping bonus. In fact, I will not be doing that in the video, and I'll let you know why once we get a little bit further in, and it will become very, very apparent. The main reason in this one is simply a time aspect. Now, I have gone and done it, so for those of you who are familiar with this quest, you know what that exactly entails. And for those of you who are not yet familiar with this quest, once we get to that location, I'm sure you'll figure it out immediately. Okay. So once you've killed all these guys and you meet back up with Kaboom, he's gonna run off to the right there and blow up the wall, so do not follow him. Kinda locks you in.
That huge explosion blocked off the rest of the tunnel.
Now,
The rubble is too heavy to move by
I'm gonna
hand,
show you a
and
couple
too
of methods
dense
for
to
getting
smash
past.
through. Only
So
something
the
very
first
powerful
is
could clear it.
you want to head into this side room here to the south, or heading left,
For some reason, the
and then
Drow
you want to
workers
interact with
abandoned
that
their
crate
efforts to
down
dig
there.
through this natural cavern,
Now, the
and
moment you
instead chose
grab
to
the
tunnel
crate,
around it.
the fast method of exiting this room would be to immediately turn around and rush back up these stairs as fast as you can. So we're going to do that here just to show you.
A dead Medusa
So you grab the
lies
crate
sprawled next to a bin full of demolition
and you
charges.
run back up as fast as you can,
Aloevain must have abandoned
because
this
the
cavern
stairs actually
after
get
she met
busted
her
behind
son
you.
men. What manner of
And they get
creature
broken up by
could
these
resist
earth
the
elementals.
Medusa's
From there you would just head back up and around. If, however, you don't make it, you then need to head through. So the way that you're supposed to do this, again, I'll show you an alternative method here. So the way that you're supposed to do this is, once you interact with the demolition charge crate, it will give you 3 Droam demolition charges somewhere in your inventory. They'll look like a little chest. You're just going to want to drag that to your quick bar, just for ease of access. So then what you want to do
rubble blocks your way
is you're
out
going
of
to
this
approach
cavern.
these
There must be something
giant
here
piles
you
of
can
rubble.
use
Now
to
you
get
can't
past
shoot
it.
them. You actually got to play. You actually gotta use the charges to break them. Now, as you saw, there are some enemies, which is where the Reaper had come from. So you're gonna want to double click to use them from your bar. Now, do be careful, as it does set a charge. It will blink, slowly blink faster, and then eventually explode. Now, when it explodes, it will do damage, including damage to yourself as well. So if you're not careful, it can insta-kill you. If you are a little bit tankier, obviously you can survive the blast, but they do hurt a lot. And I can actually show you just how much they hurt at the end of the quest. That way I can also show you the full bonus there for making it through. Alright, so again, as you're coming up, you'll see more and more of these enemies. And then we're going to get to more of them. Then we're going to get to this part here. So again, same thing as before. You want to use your Droam demolition charge. Now the reason you actually want to use it here is if you use the other method, it will actually glitch this out and not spawn in the optional. Or it has a potential for not spawning it. So once you blow it up, it spawns in a massive earth elemental here, who honestly isn't much harder than the small ones that you were fighting. Now you have 2 options. You can choose to kill him, or if you head back through the door, which is right here, he'll just despawn, making it so you don't get the kill. And if you don't kill him, it won't let you actually get the loot here either. Now in the chest, it can have a named item. Nothing spectacular. Honestly, it usually gets left behind. However, first time around, it is a nice little medium armor. It is a medium armor, but it does have the properties. Or is it a light? I forget. Anyway, it's an armor of speed, essentially. When you're struck, it can cast haste, which is really nice for range type characters. Get that little extra boost to run out. And just even for melee in general, though the AC is kind of low. And again, shrines if you need them. From here, you're going to want to head through the doorway, and you would be using your last of your charges. Or, now here's the other method. If you actually right click on them to fully highlight, or you can use Q, it'll highlight it up in your little kind of what it is menu. It might look like this. You might have it set up this little circle, or it could look like this here. I have mine here. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to select the interactions and options and select to use. That'll actually just immediately break them, which is ultimately the fastest method to get through here, as of right now. Obviously that is not the intended method to get through, so I do want to caution using that. Obviously it's not the way that they had intended, and you know, it does break a little bit of the immersion of the quest. But again, I am letting you know that as of right now, that is currently an option in order to get through this. And that works for going there. So you didn't actually have to necessarily head left per se. You do need to go into that room as per the quest objective. But then again, you can immediately just like break the pieces and sneak by that way. Alright, so heading down the hall, before you head down this, basically this last main staircase into the big room here, to our right here, there is another pile of rubble, which will have an optional enemy behind it. So again, just right click use, sneak in, and the best part about doing that method is you don't gotta wait for the timer on the bomb. You don't have to risk somebody not paying attention and running right at it, potentially blowing themselves or you up if you're not paying attention to, you know, them dropping down mines. And then for here again, optional. Now this optional chest can actually drop marks, which I will show you what those are used for at the very end of this chain here.
Crammed with supplies. It's a staging area for the Droam army.
Now, one thing that is possible to do in this quest here is to get the conquest and to get the ransack. So those ones are easier, much easier to get. So I will be going after those. Now, if you are going for ransack, do gotta make sure that while you're in this room, that you grab the breakables, as it houses a very large portion of the overall breakables of this quest. It will also, so again, if you're using the correct method and actually using the Droam demolition charges, it will also have another demolition crate here for you, so you can re-pick up. Now again, I want to point out you can never have more than 3 at any given time, so if you use just 1, you click on the box, it's only going to give you back up to 3, whereas if you'd used all of them, again, it'll break it all the way down. So from here, you're just going to want to go through the wall to the west and just continue down our path. And you're going to want to do so right up until we get to our shrines. Now, in our shrines here in the center, we have a whole bunch of exploding barrels. And that's trying to hint at you placing a mine. Now, this one we can't actually interact with, but we can, again, place a mine. Now, I do want to let you know, this is a good one to call out before you place it, simply because a lot of people, once they get to the shrines, as I'm sure you're aware, they'll rush to the shrine, they'll go to rest. If you're rushing and place the mine, you may end up accidentally killing your party members. Now, once you blow a hole in the floor, you can actually sneak on through. And on the other side, there is a water elemental who is actually a little dangerous, which is why I'm buffing myself up here again. It's more often than not a champion. And as you can see, it can do a lot of damage. So just be careful taking him out. Again, another little bit of XP. We got a rem chest and then an actual chest here again. There we go. And back into the water. So that's a little detour for a little extra experience. From here, continue down our path. It's kind of a very linear path and fairly straightforward. Though there are a couple of those twists and turns there with the demolition charge. I really like that mechanic. That was the first time that they used that type of mechanic in a quest. They've since gone and used similar mechanics with other things. But the other one that's really unique is we actually have a minefield.
Suggests the presence of explosives nearby.
Now, this is why I was mentioning that it's kind of difficult to get that full trap bonus. As you can see, this is just this tiny little part here, and it extends all the way around the corner and down the hall a little bit. Like, it is a massive minefield. If you are looking to complete and get the mines, you're looking at nearly 400 mines to get the trap bonus. So you will need approximately 400 traps. Now, if you have a party of rogues, that's not so bad. But you do have to watch out, as with these mines, you can disable them, as you see, from a distance. And ironically, you can get the one that's already been set off. But if you get too close, they will explode, setting it off, and you cannot disable that trap now. So it is a little difficult. The easy way to go through, especially if you can't see them, is where this guy is dead, this mine is already exposed. If you actually just drop a demolition charge on this mine, that way you can see where it is if you're not able to search up the traps. You can back up. It'll go off. And when it explodes, any mine within its blast radius will get triggered and set off. And so one method is, of course, using these charges and blasting your way through the whole minefield. Now, that takes a lot of time. And again, don't really recommend that one per se. What a lot of people like to do, if they can't disable, they're not going to disable, they're not going to blow it up, is they'll have jump. Now with jump, they'll actually be able to get up top. You can hop up here. There's one grab spot. If you're not able to make this one, a little bit further in, we have a spot right here, which is quite a bit easier. And then you can hop up here. Now again, this whole place is absolutely full. I'm just too high to see them. But trust me, they're there. You don't want to fall down. And again, all through this room, which you'll see once we get on some of these lower platforms. Now in here, as you can see, we also have, on top of the minefield, we have enemies. Now these enemies will actually trigger them as well. So if you hit anyone and they try to go forward, you'll hear it had gone off. So you got a Fear Reaper down there, which they cheat because they don't actually exist on the ground. They just hover slightly above it. They are immune to it, sadly. And because of how closely a lot of these mines are placed, when you fall, sometimes that's it. I don't know why it's only showing those ones. Now that I'm actually on this level. So if you have a rogue, you'll be able to see them from a little bit farther away. But as you can see, it's still going strong all the way out here. And again, all the way through this room. Now, you'll also have a couple of breakables, which, I mean, if you can get, awesome. If you can't, not a big deal. Again, I prefer using range damage, so getting them never really is that big of an issue. And yeah, so you want to make your way all the way down to this kind of crystal geode doorway, which is essentially the end here. So again, as you can just see, the sheer amount of these traps. Show you on the map. So all the way from here, all the way in here, again, there's about 380, 400 mines. There's a lot. So you can do it. Takes a lot of time. Alright, so moving on. Just past that, you do have a giant bridge. Now, I want to point out how they mentioned falling would not be advisable. The reason they put that out is if you fall, you are just instantly killed. Essentially, the way they put it up is it's too deep, you fall to your death. Or you can't get out, or however they want to set it up. It's essentially you're a goner. So just be careful, especially if you're like myself and like to hop around, because you can jump over the edge. You can fall. So we have another demolition charge here once we get to the bridge, as well as a set of shrines. Crossing the bridge, we're going to have a tunnel up. Now, this is actually getting towards the end of the quest, and there is an optional here as well, which is kind of cool. It's very Indiana Jones. Now I'm going to show you a safe location where you can set off the trap and then hide. So if you're not the one setting off the trap, anywhere along the side where it kind of panders off to the like kind of tapers off and you can kind of hide in the side here, you will be safe. You just want to avoid this main track here. So again, right here, you just want to avoid the main tunnel track, as it's going to roll a giant boulder. I know, very, very Indiana Jones. And if you get hit by the boulder, it's essentially going to insta-kill you. It does a lot of damage. And there you go. So if you're wanting to set that off, you actually want to fight up to this guy right here and kill him. Once you do, you want to go to the very bottom of this staircase and plant a bomb. Now the moment you plant the bomb, you're actually going to run ahead and off to the left. It'll get you out of the way, it'll set off the trap, and with the placement of where the bomb is, which is again very bottom of this set of stairs, right where we fought the ogre, it will actually blow up the rolling boulder. Now you can shoot the boulder, kill it that way. This way the timing is set up, you can get it every time for that easy 1000 experience. You know, nothing too difficult there. At this point, all you gotta do is deal with lag and head on up around the corner for the final fight. So again, we have Kaboom. Now, if you choose not to fight him just yet, you can actually head around the corner, kind of taking off the trash, as well as grabbing the last of the breakables. So there we are. Now, once you have all the breakables, I suggest heading back to the ramp here and fighting on the western side of it. if you didn't run all the way around. So that would be entering the room and fighting on the left side of it. Now the reason being is, while fighting Kaboom, once he reaches a specific amount of hit points, he's going to kind of go into an invulnerable state. So right here, can't even target him, and he's going to run around. Now I don't recommend following him. As you see, he's placing down these bombs, these mines, and one of them is even a tac det, which is about to go off. So, you know, it's really brutal, and then ultimately he runs right back to his starting position here, and until he does, he's invulnerable anyway. So following him is pointless. All that happens is you get hit by those bombs. Kind of annoying. Now, at this point, I'm gonna park my hireling back here. At this point, all that's left to do to complete the quest is to approach the grates, open them, and that's it. So as you can see, 30,000 XP. Took about 30 minutes. Obviously, if you're doing this with a group, go a lot faster, and, you know, not stopping to explain, skipping the optionals. There's a lot of ways to speed this up. Now, one thing I wanted to do, as promised, I wanted to show you what happens if you set up the mine next to yourself. Now, bear in mind, I have a very good reflex save. 36. So I am only going to take half damage from this explosion. And yeah, so even with half damage, you'll see just how brutal they can be. Obviously, if you're blocking, you'll do a further damage reduction. But I just took 11,000 damage again. That's half. So that would have done about 2,000 damage. Like, it is absolutely a ridiculous amount of damage. So definitely, if you can, avoid getting hit by those mines. Really not fun. And yeah, so once you're done, go ahead and hit the door. It'll port you right back out, and you'll be able to turn in your quest. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys later. Have a good one all.